Okay, Yaron, as the cinematographer on The Path, talk a bit about your work. Now, you've shot all the episodes, is that correct?
Yeah, I was basically there's one DP for the whole show.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about establishing a style and a mood for it. Let's talk a bit about the first episode.
Yeah, well, I would say the challenge with this particular show is that there was a 10 episode order, so it's not like sometimes you just do the pilot and then you're waiting to hear if it gets picked up and then you kind of come on, and then there's situations where the DP who shoots the pilot is not the DP who does the rest of the episodes. So sometimes you're coming in and there's a look is already established. So this was a particular instance where we knew we had 10 episodes ordered, so we can kind of establish the look from frame one till the end, which was challenging because you kind of know that everything has kind of a meaning that will have to be kind of sustained throughout the season. I would say that a big part of establishing the specific look for this one, like in a lot of shows, is the story and the script. And because this script has such a kind of dynamic, I would say, division between kind of the world, which is the facade of this movement, which is very inviting and warm and organic and natural on the outside, and then the very kind of dark currents, be it personal and kind of thematic in the inside, that it already kind of was very helpful for us to kind of create these two worlds. So on one hand, we're going to kind of shoot it in a very natural and inviting way, because that's how the movement kind of is projected to the world. And then on the other hand, there is this kind of very dark layer underneath that you kind of learn as the season goes, and we'll use that visually to kind of, bring that part of the story out in a nutshell.
So when you got the script, what about it attracted you to it? Made you want to work on it?
Well, I would say for me, without a doubt, kind of, I was raised and born in Israel, and I was there most of my life, and I came to New York at age 22. So I would say that I have a sensitivity towards religion, and just kind of, organized religion and just religion in general, and, the good, the bad, and the ugly about it. And so this script was attracting for me. I just felt that I have a feel for the material as far as people who are, believing in something very rigorously and are willing to go to extreme lengths to kind of make sure that, people follow their religion and to make sure that they're heard. And so the main attraction for me was just kind of the dynamic of a movement / cult, how people get in, how people perform once in there, how the people who are leading it, how they rationale, the kind of movement's theories and beliefs to themselves and to the people they're trying to persuade. So these are things that I just found personally very interesting, and I felt like I had a bit of a, kind of life experience with some of these themes, that was kind of a fertile breeding ground for me, both personally and as a DP.
Mm-hmm. So you talked about contrasting the sunny facade of the faith with the kind of dark undercurrents. I wonder if you could talk a bit, just give some specific examples of how you achieved this visually.
Yeah. So first of all, it's important to know that the first 2 episodes were directed by Mike Cahill, who is a really amazing person and director. He's done a bunch of independent movies, and so first of all, I was very fortunate to be working with someone who's a very visual director. So that, just to put that on the side, that's I just wanted to shout out for Mike, because he was very influential, obviously creating the look with me, and then kind of in sustaining it throughout the show. But I would say, so for instance, a lot of use of available and natural light, especially for when you see this compound for the first time. So it's either just using the sun by bouncing, with bouncing material, with just softening material. There were no use of artificial lights during the day, like no HMIs outside, no heavy shadows on faces. So just very diffuse, soft light as far as the approach for the outside and the inside, meaning I'm inside a room. I would just kind of use the sun and either bounce it or just take light, negative fill, which is just put a black fabric where I don't want the light to kind of bounce back, but I'm not really using almost any lights. So that was kind of an approach we did, which was challenging in some places, but when you look at it, it just feels very kind of natural environment. And then to contest it, and then also shot where I would say a bit more dolly movements, just a bit less kind of tense in some ways. And then as we get to the darker stuff, we went very dark with practical lights and just letting the fill light go dark, meaning no lighting of the fill side of the face. So just kind of the natural fall off, and letting things go very dark and silhouetted. Plus use of kind of zoom lenses to kind of create suspense, like slow zooms as opposed to tracking the whole camera into someone's face. Do a slow zoom as if it's kind of you're going with that through certain places to see things. So those are kind of technical things we use just to kind of separate the two worlds.
Mm-hmm. So take us on to the set. Take us on to just the process of working through an individual episode. How many days do you have to prepare? How many days do you have to shoot it? What's the process like?
Okay, so for this particular, because we were kind of, again, establishing everything from scratch, I had 4 weeks of prep to prep the first 2 episodes, and maybe just get into a bit of light prep on like episodes 3 and 4. But most of the focus was on the first block. I think the first 2 episodes we did in 16 or 17 days, maybe 18. I know it was a while, but normally it's 8 days an episode on the show. I think we got another 1 or 2 or 3 for the first block because there's some bigger set pieces to start with. So let's say about 18 days for the first 2. And then the first few weeks is a lot of meetings about tone, a lot of location scouts, as usual, hours and hours and hours in the van, kind of finding these locations for the very first time, and also thinking, okay, if we like this location, it needs to work not just for episode 1 and 2, but some of them for a whole season. So a lot of work with picking of locations and trying to kind of understand, will they work for duration of time. So 4 weeks of prep, and a lot of hours in the van driving and looking for places.
Mm-hmm. So how did your background in you've done a lot of feature films and some short films, a lot of work in independent film world.
Yeah.
How did that that experience help you in doing this? Where you have kind of like just a little over 2 weeks to shoot what is essentially like kind of a 2-hour feature film in some ways,
What I would say, my background is shooting starting with small independent films in New York. So I graduated from School of Visual Arts, and then just kind of slowly from short film got into independent features, and was in the independent feature world for a good 3, 4, 5 years till I became union, let's say. So in those years, it was all about like no time, no money, working very fast, and then making the best of it. So the last few years, I started to get into TV, and this was basically my 3rd season of a TV show ever. I just recently started to get into TV, and I just think that because there's a certain pace inherited in TV shooting, that I can just kind of fall back a bit on those years where you don't need a lot to make something look good. You can come with a very simple, effective approach. And so I guess I just have a bigger team to, in a way, help me, achieve the day, but still I have to work at a certain pace. So I think the feature background basically helps you in just kind of, fine-tuning how to get the essence of every scene. And also when you're, with your back against the wall, how to get it in a very effective and beautiful way, even with less time.
Mm-hmm. So take us into the other episodes. After you and Mike Cahill did the first 2 episodes and you established the visual style and kind of the mood that you're going for, you start bringing in other directors, and you're a constant throughout the series. So talk about the experience of working with these other people.
Okay, well, luckily again is the director who shot episode 3 and 4 and who ultimately shot the last two episodes, episodes 9 and 10, is Michael Weaver, or Mike Weaver as we call him, another Mike. And he's, I would say, the kind of in-house, in a way, the in-house producer-director, because not only did he shoot 4 episodes or direct 4 episodes, he's also kind of there in between, in a way, I wouldn't say guiding the directors, but just making sure that any question they have, he's there for them and kind of filling them in. So he's kind of also kind of a constant thread with regard to the directors. He gives them the space, but he's there if there's any questions and anything that needs support. So the fact that he was very involved in the prep with Mike and myself, because he is part of the look, and then because we went from 1, 2, we went to 3, 4 with him, it was kind of a natural progression because he was there with us all those 4 weeks of prep and very involved. So it was a very seamless transition. And then he also did episodes 9 and 10. So between the 2 mics, that's 6 episodes. So of the show is with these 2 mics. So for me, that made it much easier because I kind of had a shorthand with the 2 of them because I was, in a way, prepping with the 2 of them for 4 weeks. So that was a very big advantage and a very smart setup with regards to the producers of the show, and Mike Weaver being one of them. But I would say that the challenge was more when we had a few new directors come in for like episodes 5, 6, 7, 8. Then it was basically, once the mics were gone in a way, and then it's just a matter of, you want the directors to come with new things and new perspectives, and you want them to own the material, like the showrunner wants me to own the visual part of it. Everyone wants to. I think it's smart to have everyone own their part in the show, because then people are more, bring more to the table and are more into it. But the thin line is also, you just also want to make sure that there's a continuous thread visually and it's developing in certain ways. So I would just say bluntly, sometimes you're just, we can try it this way, but let's just be aware that we haven't really done it this way, and maybe just be cognizant that we should think if it's really, that's where we want to go, or we want to kind of keep that for something more specific, or is it going to be too much out of what we're doing, and is it worth it? So just have really honest discussions as far as if a director wants to try something new. I would just, if it was really very different from what we did, I would just kind of have a discussion like, is it going to help us, or is it going to just all of a sudden take the show to a place where we don't want the show to be, with regards to a certain style. We didn't have many of those conversations, but a few here and there. It's kind of the natural progression, and most of the time what came out was something, a combination which was probably better, So I would say I feel like my duty is just to give a lot of space for the directors to come and do their thing, but also just here and there to raise like a little mini flag, a golf flag, if sometimes I feel that it's maybe just needs a second to think about it before we commit to something, in a very gentle way, as is always the case.
Isn't it an exciting time to work in television from a cameraman standpoint?
I think it is. I definitely think it is. I mean, I'm still kind of going between the TV and the feature, because my passion is still the features, just because there's a preciousness with the features. Like, with TV, you're still going back to some of the locations 5, 6, 7, and 10 times during the course of a season, and it gets hard to be fresh and to be very, new with that location, even in your mind. Whereas in a movie, suddenly you're going to be in one location once the whole time. This movie is going to have just these 3 minutes in this room, and that's it. And there's some sort of so every location becomes very special. So that's just a challenge I find in TV versus movies. So I would say, to answer the question, it's a great time for TV, especially because of the talent that's coming to TV. And I would say mostly the writers, the directors, the producers, and the actors that are coming are bringing this huge amount of talent. But it's still there's still a bit of a hybrid there as far as, giving things the breath. For me, the big difference between movies and TV is the rhythm. Whereas a movie can linger on certain scenes and shots, with TV, there's a certain kind of get to the chase or get to the punch. And I think like an HBO or Netflix or Hulu, shows that don't have to adhere to like a minute. Like sometimes with Netflix, you have to, the act has to be done in this frame because commercials come in, and then a scene that maybe wants to live another 20 seconds can't. Whereas in these more in streaming services and with HBO, they let things breathe a bit more. Then that's when it's good, in my opinion. So I would say that the network is more tricky, I feel, than these shows that do let things breathe. Like Hulu was like, you know, if you want to do this shot that takes another 20 seconds, or if this episode will be another 2-3 minutes, that's okay, because if the episode is good, we're fine. So that's the combination that for me works the best, I would say. That's when TV is kind of in its best place, not when you have to kind of cut to commercial in a way.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and congratulations. It's a fantastic show, and thank you for your time. Pleasure talking with you.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Bye.